My husband locked me out of the house. He didn't know who was standing behind me. His face turned white. Hi, everyone. Before we get into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel's reach has been dropping a bit, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you new and interesting stories. Your support means the world to us, and together, we can grow this channel. Thank you so much. Now let's get to today's story. I'm writing from a temporary account for obvious reasons, and I've changed some details to protect my anonymity. The rain started just as I pulled into our driveway. Not the gentle spring rain that smells of earth and renewal, but the cold November kind that soaks through your coat in seconds and turns everything gray. I sat in the car for a moment, watching water stream down the windshield, gathering the energy to make the 20-foot dash to the front door. It had been a long day. A long week, actually. I had spent the last 4 days at my mother's house, 3 hours north, helping her recover from surgery. 4 days of hospital visits and medication schedules, and trying to keep her spirits up while she healed. 4 days away from home, from my own bed, from the life I'd built over 18 years of marriage. I was exhausted. All I wanted was a hot shower, a warm meal, and my husband's arms around me. I gathered my overnight bag from the passenger seat and ran for the door, keys already in hand. The motion sensor light flickered on as I reached the porch, illuminating the familiar welcome mat we'd bought on our 10th anniversary. The one that said, "Home is where the heart is," in cheerful letters that were now faded and worn. I inserted my key into the lock and turned it. Nothing happened. I tried again, jiggling the key the way you do when locks are stubborn. Still nothing. The key wouldn't even turn halfway. Confused, I pulled it out and examined it in the porch light. It was definitely the right key, the same one I'd used for years, with the blue rubber cap I'd added to distinguish it from the others on my keyring. I tried once more, carefully this time, making sure I had it fully inserted. The lock refused to budge. That's when I realized the deadbolt was engaged from the inside. "James," I called out, knocking on the door. "James, I'm home. Can you unlock the door?" No response. I knocked louder, raising my voice over the sound of rain drumming on the porch roof. "James, the door's locked from inside. I can't get in." Still nothing. I fumbled for my phone, rain dripping down my neck as I scrolled through my contacts. I called his cell. It rang once, twice, 3 times, then went to voicemail. "James, it's me. I'm outside. Can you please open the door? My key won't work." I waited, phone pressed to my ear, standing in the rain. A minute passed, then 2. The call ended with no reply. Growing concerned now. What if something had happened to him? I walked around the side of the house to the living room window. The lights were on inside, warm and golden. I could see our couch, the bookshelf I had organized last month, the TV playing what looked like a basketball game, and I could see James. He was sitting in his recliner, beer in hand, watching the game. Perfectly fine, perfectly aware. I knocked on the window. "James!" He didn't turn his head. I knocked harder, loud enough that he couldn't possibly miss it. "James, I need you to open the door." He took a sip of his beer, eyes never leaving the screen. Something cold settled in my stomach. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't him not hearing me. He was deliberately ignoring me. I walked back to the front door and pounded on it with my fist. "James William Chen, you open this door right now!" The intercom beside the door crackled to life. His voice came through, distorted by the cheap speaker but clear enough. "Go back to wherever you came from, Claire. I need time to think." I stared at the intercom in disbelief. "What? James, what are you talking about? I just got back from my mother's. Let me in. I'm getting soaked out here." "You should have thought about that before." "Before what?" "James, I don't understand. What's going on?" "Don't play stupid. You know exactly what's going on." My mind raced, trying to understand. "I honestly don't. Please, can we talk about this inside? Whatever's wrong, we can figure it out." "There's nothing to figure out. I saw the messages, Claire. I know what you've been doing. Messages? What messages? James, I haven't. Save it. I've spent the last 4 days thinking about this. About us. About what I want to do. And right now, I don't want you here. So go to a hotel. Go to your mother's. Go wherever you want. Just give me space. The intercom clicked off. I stood there on the porch, rain soaking through my coat, my overnight bag at my feet, and tried to process what was happening. My husband, the man I'd been married to for 18 years, who I'd built a life with, who I'd just spent 4 days away from taking care of my sick mother, had locked me out of my own home. And he was accusing me of something. Messages. What messages? I pulled out my phone again, scrolling through my texts, my emails, my social media. Nothing unusual, nothing incriminating, because there was nothing to incriminate. I hadn't done anything wrong, unless... Had someone hacked my accounts? Sent messages pretending to be me? Was this some kind of catfishing scam? James! I called through the door. Whatever you saw, we need to talk about it. Please, at least tell me what you think I did. The intercom stayed silent. I tried calling again. Straight to voicemail, he'd turned off his phone. The rain was coming down harder now, turning the driveway into a small river. I was shivering, my teeth starting to chatter. I looked at my car, considering getting back in, driving somewhere. But where? My mother was 3 hours away and barely mobile. My sister lived across the country. My closest friend was in Florida, visiting her grandchildren. This was my home, my house, my life. And I was locked out of it by my own husband based on some accusation he wouldn't even explain. Anger began to override the shock. I walked back to the living room window and pounded on the glass hard enough to make it rattle. James, you can't just lock me out. This is my house too. I pay the mortgage. I pay the bills. You can't just decide I don't live here anymore. He finally turned his head, looking at me through the window. His face was set, jaw clenched, eyes cold. I'd seen him angry before. Everyone gets angry. But this was different. This was contempt. You want to talk about money? His voice was muffled through the glass, but audible. How about we talk about the $15,000 you've been sending to your friend every month for the last year? $15,000? James, I haven't been sending money to anyone. Where did you get that idea? I checked the bank statements. Every month, like clockwork. 15,000. That's impossible. I don't even have access to that kind of money. Our accounts would be empty. That's right. They are empty. The retirement fund is gone, Claire. Every penny we saved for the last 18 years. Gone. And you're going to stand there and pretend you don't know anything about it? The world tilted. Our retirement fund. The account we'd been building since we got married. The safety net we'd sacrificed for, skipped vacations for, worked extra hours for. James, I swear to you, I didn't touch that money. I don't even have the passwords to that account. You set it up, remember? You said you'd handle it. He laughed, bitter and harsh. Right, very convenient. Blame me when you're the one who's been stealing from us. I haven't been stealing. James, please, you have to believe me. Something's wrong here. Someone might have hacked the account, or there's been fraud, or... Stop lying! He slammed his hand against the window, making me jump back. I saw the transfers. Your name is on every single one. You authorized them. I didn't. I swear to God, I didn't. We stared at each other through the rain-streaked glass. 18 years of marriage reduced to this suspicion, an accusation, and a locked door between us. James, I said, quieter now, trying to sound calm even though my heart was racing. If money is missing from our account, we need to call the bank. We need to report it. We need to figure out what happened. But I can't do that standing in the rain. Please. Let me in. Let's call them together right now and sort this out. He turned away from the window. Call them yourself, from wherever you decide to go. Because you're not coming in here until I have answers. You're making a mistake. The only mistake I made was trusting you. He walked out of view, deeper into the house. A moment later, The living room light turned off, leaving just the dim glow from somewhere in the back, probably the bedroom. I stood in the rain, shaking now from cold and shock and rage. My own husband, the man who had vowed to love me through better and worse, who I had cared for through his father's death, through the layoff that nearly broke him, through his depression and his doubts, who I had just spent 4 days away from to take care of my sick mother. He had decided I was a thief and a liar, and he wouldn't even let me defend myself. I pulled out my phone to call the bank, to prove I had nothing to do with whatever was happening to our money. But it was nearly 8 on a Friday night. The bank was closed. I'd have to wait until Monday. 2 days of being locked out of my own home. 2 days of being accused of something I didn't do. I was about to get back in my car, to find a hotel or sleep in the parking lot for all I cared, when headlights swept across the driveway. A car pulled in behind mine. A dark sedan with tinted windows. For a moment, I was afraid. A woman alone in the rain, vulnerable and upset. But then the driver's door opened, and I recognized the man who stepped out. Detective Marcus Rivera. My brother. I hadn't seen Marcus in 3 months, not since our mother's birthday. We weren't estranged, just busy with our own lives. Him with his work in the city's fraud division, me with my job as a guidance counselor, and the daily demands of a marriage that was apparently falling apart. Claire? He jogged over, immediately taking in my soaked appearance and the locked door behind me. What's going on? Why are you standing in the rain? Marcus. His name came out as half a sob. What are you doing here? I came to talk to James about a case I'm working on. He studied my face, his detective instincts clearly kicking in. Why aren't you inside? He locked me out. He won't let me in. He thinks I stole money from our retirement account. Marcus's expression shifted, became harder. When did you find out about the account? About 5 minutes ago. James just accused me. He says $15,000 a month has been disappearing for a year. Marcus, I didn't take it. I swear I didn't take it. I know you didn't. The certainty in his voice made me pause. You know? How do you know? Because James took it. That's why I'm here. The words didn't make sense at first. I heard them individually, but couldn't string them together into meaning. What? Marcus looked at the house, at the locked door, at the windows where my husband was hiding. His jaw tightened. I've been investigating a fraud case for the last 6 months. Money laundering, embezzlement, the works. One of the names that kept coming up was James Chen. You're James. I didn't want to believe it at first. He's family. But the evidence was solid. He's been systematically draining your retirement account and funneling the money through shell companies to hide assets. I couldn't finish. Couldn't breathe. He's been planning to divorce you, Claire, setting things up so it looks like you're the one who took the money. So when you split, he gets the house and you get blamed for the missing funds. He's been building a case against you for months. The ground felt unsteady beneath my feet. No, that can't be right. James wouldn't. We've been married 18 years. He loves me. Did he tell you why he locked you out tonight? He said I was stealing, that I'd been sending money to a friend. He transferred another batch this afternoon, 15,000, same as always, except this time I was waiting. I got the warrant this morning, and I came here tonight to arrest him. I turned to look at the house, my home, where I'd lived for 12 years, where I'd hung curtains and planted flowers, and believed I was building something permanent. Behind that locked door was a man I thought I knew, a man I'd loved, a man who had been systematically destroying our life together and planning to blame me for it. I need you to step back, Marcus said gently. This is going to get complicated. He walked up to the door and knocked, 3 hard official raps that sounded nothing like my desperate pounding from earlier. James Chen, this is Detective Marcus Rivera with the Metropolitan Police. I have a warrant for your arrest. Open the door. Silence. Mr. Chen, I know you're in there. You have 30 seconds to open this door voluntarily before I call for backup and we enter by force. The intercom crackled. What's this about? James's voice, trying to sound confused, Innocent. You know what this is about. The money you've been stealing from your retirement account. The shell companies, the fraud. Open the door. I don't know what you're talking about. You must have the wrong person. We have the wrong person, all right, but it's not me. Marcus glanced at me. You tried to frame your wife, make it look like she was the one stealing. That was smart. Except you got sloppy. You used your own computer, your own IP address. Left a trail even an intern could follow. A longer silence this time. James? I called out, finding my voice. Just open the door. Running doesn't help anything. You brought a cop? Your own brother? To arrest me? I didn't bring him. I didn't even know he was coming. But yes, that's my brother, the detective, who apparently has been investigating you for months while you've been busy framing me for your crimes. Claire, it's not, you don't understand. I had reasons. Then explain them. Open the door and explain. If I open this door, he'll arrest me. I'm arresting you either way, Marcus said flatly. The question is whether you want to do this the easy way or the hard way. Because if I have to call this in, if I have to get uniforms out here and break down this door, every neighbor on this street is going to watch you get hauled out in handcuffs. Your choice. I heard movement inside. Footsteps. Then the sound of the deadbolt sliding back, the lock turning. The door opened. James stood there, still holding his beer, his face pale. His eyes went to me first, then to Marcus, then back to me. Looking for an ally, maybe. Looking for someone to save him from the consequences of what he'd done. He found no mercy in my face. Why? I asked. Just tell me why. His mouth opened, closed. He looked older suddenly, smaller, like someone had let the air out of him. I met someone, he said finally. 2 years ago. We fell in love. Real love, Claire, not this comfortable arrangement we've had. I wanted to start over with her, but I knew in a divorce, we'd split everything. I'd lose half the house, half the retirement, half of everything I worked for. So I started moving money, making it look like you were the problem. So when I filed, I'd get to keep what was mine. What was yours? I repeated numbly. We built this together, 18 years. And I was miserable for 15 of them. The casual cruelty of it took my breath away. Not just the theft, not just the fraud, but the revelation that he'd been unhappy for most of our marriage, and I'd never known, that I'd been living in a relationship he'd checked out of years ago. James Chen, Marcus said, stepping forward with handcuffs. You're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and identity theft. You have the right to remain silent. I stopped listening, watched as my brother cuffed my husband, read him his rights, walked him past me toward the police car. James didn't look at me as he passed. Couldn't, maybe. Or wouldn't. The rain had slowed to a drizzle. I stood on the porch, my home that I could finally enter, and watched the taillights disappear down the street. Marcus returned a few minutes later, jogging up the driveway. You okay? No. Stupid question. Sorry. He put a hand on my shoulder. I need to get back to the station, process him, but I can call someone to stay with you. Or you can come with me. Wait there. I'm going inside, I said. I'm going to shower. I'm going to eat something. And then I'm going to start figuring out how to put my life back together. The money, Marcus said gently. Most of it's recoverable. He didn't spend it, just moved it around. We'll get it back to you, but it'll take time. Time? Right. I laughed, brittle and broken. At least I have that now. All the time in the world. Marcus hugged me, quick and hard, the way we'd hugged as kids when one of us was hurting. Call me tomorrow. We'll figure this out. Yeah. He left, and I was alone. I picked up my overnight bag, walked through the door James had locked me out of, into the house that was suddenly, completely, devastatingly mine. The next few days passed in a blur of phone calls and lawyers and police statements. Marcus walked me through the process, how James had set up fake accounts in my name, forged my signature on transfer documents, created an elaborate paper trail that made it look like I was the one stealing from us. He was thorough, Marcus admitted. If you'd gone through a divorce without this investigation, You probably would have been the one charged with fraud. You'd have lost everything and possibly gone to jail. So I got lucky that my brother happens to be a fraud detective. You got lucky he was sloppy, good at framing you, bad at covering his own tracks. The retirement money would be returned, Marcus assured me. James's assets would be frozen. The house would stay in my name. The woman he'd been planning to start over with, some paralegal from his office, 15 years younger, had disappeared the moment the police showed up at her door. Even love, apparently, has its limits when faced with conspiracy charges. James pled guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence. 5 years, eligible for parole in 3. His lawyer tried to paint him as a man driven by love, by desperation, by a midlife crisis that got out of hand. The judge wasn't sympathetic. You systematically stole from your wife, she said. You framed her for your crimes. You tried to destroy her life to benefit your own. That's not love or desperation. That's cruelty with premeditation. 5 years. It seemed both too much and not enough. Too much because he was still the man I'd loved once, the man I'd built a life with. Not enough because those 18 years felt like a lie now, and you can't sentence someone for lying about loving you. 6 months after that rainy night, I still live in the house. Some days I think about selling it, starting fresh somewhere new. Other days I think about staying, about filling these rooms with new memories that have nothing to do with James Chen. I've redecorated. Got rid of his recliner, his beer fridge, the basketball memorabilia that covered half the living room, painted the bedroom a different color, changed all the locks, symbolically and literally. My mother recovered fully from her surgery. I didn't tell her the whole truth about James, just that we'd separated, that he'd had financial problems, that it was complicated. She doesn't need to know the details, doesn't need to know her daughter's husband tried to destroy her. Marcus checks in weekly. We've gotten closer through all this, bonded by crisis the way families do. He worries I'm isolating myself, that I'm not dealing with the emotional fallout. He's probably right. Some nights I still wake up reaching for someone who isn't there. Not James, exactly, but the person I thought he was, the partner I believed I had, the marriage I thought we'd built together. Those are the hardest losses. Not the things that were real, but the things you believed were real. I got a letter from James last month, sent from prison, carefully worded, probably reviewed by his lawyer. He said he was sorry, that he'd made mistakes, that he'd lost sight of what mattered. He said he still cared about me, in his way. I burned the letter, didn't even finish reading it, because here's what I learned that night standing in the rain. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. When they lock you out of your home, out of your joint accounts, out of the life you thought you shared, believe that they're capable of anything. James didn't just steal money from me, he stole years. Trust. The ability to believe in permanence. He locked me out thinking it would give him control, thinking he'd already won, thinking I was alone and helpless in the rain. He didn't know my brother was coming, didn't know the investigation was already complete, didn't know that while he was framing me, someone was building a case against him. His face when he opened that door, when he saw Marcus standing there with a warrant will stay with me forever. The color draining away, the realization hitting, the understanding that his careful plan had collapsed. In that moment, he learned what I learned, that you can lock all the doors you want, but truth has a way of getting in. I'm sitting on my porch now, the same porch where I stood soaked and confused and betrayed. It's spring, and I've planted flowers in boxes along the railing, bright red geraniums and trailing ivy. Life asserting itself. A car pulls into the driveway. My sister, visiting from California. She's bringing her kids, my niece and nephew, who I haven't seen in 2 years. The house will be full of noise and chaos, and the easy love of family who don't demand anything except presence. I wave at them, watch my sister's familiar smile, hear my nephew shout, "Aunt Claire!" with unguarded enthusiasm. This is my house now. Really mine. Bought with my money, kept through my resilience, filled with people who chose to be here rather than planning to leave. James thought he could lock me out of my own life. Instead, he locked himself into a prison of his own making, and I walked through the door he tried to close, supported by the people who actually loved me, protected by the truth he tried to bury. His face turned white that night, with fear, with realization, with the recognition that he had miscalculated everything. Mine, eventually, regained its color, not all at once, not easily, but gradually, like spring coming after a hard winter, like flowers growing in boxes on a porch that used to feel like a place of exile and now feels like home. He locked the door. I found a better one,